Hey, this is Lincoln Parish, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I didn't know you were actually doing this project until recently.
A lot of people do.
Yeah. I was really surprised about it, and then I listened to the new single release with Daphne.
Okay.
So good,
Thanks.
so good. I love that you touch on anxiety on this track, but it's like you kind of touch it in a more like it's kind of like fun to listen to. Like
Right. It's like kind of my whole goal with this project was like to have lyrics that were like either pulled on the heartstrings or had like a little more depth,
right.
kind of underneath, but the music should feel like music you'd want to put on at a party. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so yeah, that makes me feel good. I feel like I accomplished what I
accomplished
said.
what you wanted.
Yeah.
How do you pull something like that where you dive into such a deep topic, but yet like when people listen to it, as you mentioned, like it can be heard in a party, it can be heard like in a club.
For me, I think it's just like writing the songs from the most like simple place. Like I don't come in with like the track already made and I'm like, hey, let's like. For me, songwriting is a more organic process of like. It usually most times starts out on like guitar, vocal, or piano, vocal, and I'll kind of build it from there. Because I mean, my belief is like, if you can make a song be awesome on just acoustic guitar and vocals, or piano and vocal, like it really makes the rest of it easier. With that song in particular, though, I'd spend a lot more time on the track, like than even the one with Paul. The first single, What I Need, it kind of just, it just can't, yeah, we finished the song and then I did the track in like a night and it was pretty much done. The one with Daphne, I spent like 6 weeks on it. But yeah, I don't, it's just like make it good from a simplistic place and then start adding all the fancy stuff around it or, whatever, production.
What was it about those 6 weeks? Why did it take 6 weeks to create this track? Did you keep changing it up or?
Not like night and day, but and it wasn't like I would necessarily work on it every single day, but like whenever I would have time between other things, I would like lay something down and then like step away from it for a day or two and then be like, oh, I don't think it really needs that, or I'd mute that or get rid of it. Maybe like play something and then be like, okay, well that was almost there, but I need to like replay it a certain way. So some parts were like replayed, and then some stuff I recorded way more than what I needed and then just deleted it. And that happens a lot just in general with a lot of stuff I do. But I produce a lot of projects for other people, and on those projects I'm pretty quick, and I feel like when it's not your baby, it's easy to be like objective and like no, like hey, we don't need this or it should go here. Whereas with my stuff, I feel like I'm
you have to add everything on it.
Yeah, or just like you're kind of playing all the roles. So perspective has been really good of like kind of working on something and then taking like maybe a week or a few days away from it, working on some other stuff, and then coming back and being like, oh, okay, well, like what I thought was cool a week ago, I'm not really feeling that as much now. I think it's just like more of a filter process. I don't know. That's just kind of the way it's been going.
Now with Daphne, I've never heard of her before, but her voice is incredible. So, how did you first come across her, and what was it about her that you wanted her on your track?
Originally, we got set up she's on Sony,
Okay.
and just through the avenues of different people, that connections, they were like, oh, I think it was my publisher and her publisher had gotten us together like a couple years before to like write, and it was great. Like we vibed, we like wrote an awesome song, and I mean that song's still cool, but like it never found a home. But and then she kind of went her own way and was just doing different things, and people just do different things. And then whenever I kind of accidentally landed on the project because the first song was with Paul, we were thinking about like, okay, who do I want to like write with to like maybe feature? And then I was like, this chick Daphne was awesome. And I was like, I just loved her vibe. I felt like we could write something for it that would maybe work for the project. And we wrote the song in like maybe an hour and a half.
Wow.
And then, I just got like an acoustic guitar and vocal to like a little drum loop, you know, from her, and then kind of went to town on the track for whatever 6 weeks or so after that.
Was it an like organic process when you guys sat down to write the record?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, you know, it was just like I was like, hey, I kind of got this like guitar riff, and then, but I was like, don't be like fooled by it. Like I hear it kind of being like this like electro kind of like Daft Punky kind of thing, and she was way into it. And honestly, like to be completely transparent, she really, I would say, 90% of the lyrics, you know, were her, like, you know, but you know, I think me and her have kind of come from a lot of the same places, or have been through a lot of the same things in life, right. You know, so it was like she would throw out something, I'm like, yeah, that's dope, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, you know. I mean, I'm not pretentious about that stuff. It's like if it's not broke, you know, it's like don't right. fix it, you know,
right?
Just
now, the idea for the topic, like, how did that really come about? Like, is that something that you already had in mind? This is the topic you wanted to focus on, or, you know, as soon as you guys got together, like the topic just kind of flowed?
It just kind of came out. Okay. Yeah, it was unconscious. You know, it was just she just started singing Release, and I was like, cool, yeah. And then, you know, I've struggled with anxiety issues majorly, and I think she has too. And so it was like we kind of connected on that, you know, as far as the meat of the content of it. And it was like, okay, yeah, like I dig where you're going, and like, so.
Now, as you go in and create, you know, the sounds for this record, like this track, like what kind of inspired the sounds that you have on this song? Like what were the reason behind it?
I can't remember the name of the song, but remember, I don't know if you're familiar with like the Mark Ronson and the Business International stuff, like kind of earlier, like maybe like should have been around like 2007, 8, maybe 9, like a little bit further back. That was kind of one inspiration, and then like the Daft Punk thing, you know, with like vocodery kind of like effect on the vocals. But I try not to, like, when I go into stuff like that, I try not to like think about it too much. It's just like, oh, does this feel cool, or does this make me excited? Like, you know, if I want to dance around the room, like that's how to me, it's how it should make me feel. Is like, it should be the type of music where I like want to get out of my chair and be like, oh hell yeah, that's awesome, you know. Like,
was there a lot of that during the recording process?
Sometimes I was like, yes, that's dope. Whenever I like figured out, because I had her do a bunch of like ad lib tracks, I was just like, do some random stuff. I might find something in there that I could use to like chop up or whatever, and so I was going through some of it, and I found the this one part that she sang that was like the super like Aretha Franklin like soul run, and that's like that's that part you hear in the post hook where, I mean, I, you know, like put Altar Boy on it and pitched it up or whatever, but so that kind of like real loud like screaming like soul like vocal thing that comes after the chorus, like I like found that and like made that little part. Nice. And that's when I was like, okay, it's like, this is good. Like I'm feeling good about it now.
That's when you knew it was going to be the next track.
Yeah. It was funny because like in the early stages of that song, my managers were in town, and they came in by my studio, and I played it for them, and I was like, you know, it's like still kind of like way off. It's not there, like, but you know, and like I played it for them, and they were just kind of like, cool. And I was like, Like,
they don't like it.
Yeah, I was like, they don't like it. I was like, okay, I got to prove to them that this is a good song. You know, I said maybe even hustle even harder, I think. So it's like, I'm gonna make them like it.
So when did you like know that you wanted to be a producer? Like when did that kind of like realization happen for you?
You know, I was doing the Cage the Elephant thing, and started with them when I was 15, but then when I was about 18 years old, I started like producing like friends or like other bands just who were friends that would basically anybody who would let me record them, and I was like recording people in my I had this like little like setup in this laundry closet in this townhouse that I had in Nashville, and that's kind of where it started. Is like, trying to like learn about recording. Like, I never went to school for any of that stuff, so it was just trial and error. And what I tell people all the time is like, I learned the most by like doing it wrong a lot, and figure out like what doesn't work.
That's the best way.
Yeah, and then so yeah, when I was 18, I started like getting into production, and also we worked with this guy Joyce, who did all the Cage records. Who's a phenomenal producer.
Taking my questions, man.
Who's a phenomenal producer, and he inspired me a lot, because it was watching him, and it was like, I want to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and for me, I've kind of always like being a more behind the scenes, like, kind of guy. I don't know. I think that fits my personality a little better. I'm pretty quiet and shy, and like, so yeah, it kind of was a natural progression. And then I started, I was on Sony Publishing at the time. And there was a lady in Nashville there who started hooking me up with co-writes with other people, like whenever I'd be in town, from off the road with the band. So it started just kind of like getting me to think differently, and like, it's like, this can kind of be whatever you want it to be. Yeah. And, honestly, like I feel like I've met and came across paths with more people having not been in the band, that I probably would have never worked with, right, or been able, or not have been able to at least collaborate with, because right. I think when you're in a band like that, not that you can't collaborate, but I think with management and stuff, they want the main focus to be,
of course,
okay, only write for Cage, which I understand, but I'm kind of ADD and I get bored really easily, so it's good for me to be able to like, I can produce a record for a band or whatever and work on that for, 3 weeks or a month. And then the next thing I do is probably going to be completely opposite of the last thing I did. So for me, that, that seems to fit more of what I like. But, I couldn't do what I do now if it wasn't for having those experiences, and like, and also too being, when you're in the room with a band, like, knowing the dynamics of like where everybody's at, not like personally, it's like, oh, okay, this dude's feeling this way because that guy just said that, and like there's like this inner band, like that's like something you can't teach, like even if you went to or just interned or studied, you can't teach, like that's something you just had to live it to like understand that, like that's, so I don't look at anything as like wasted time, it's like I always call like the years with the band like my college years, like just figuring it out, making a lot of mistakes.
But I feel like, when you decided to pursue this and leave the band, I feel like that's when like the band was, getting the most attention at the time. So like how are you able to feel okay doing that? Like, cause
it was definitely a little scary at first, like, and I had people like friends being like, are you sure? Like, like you're kind of an idiot, man. like nobody else in the world would like walk away from that. And, right. It just felt right to me. And like, it's not always been easy, but I think
you're doing what you want to do.
I'm doing what I want to do. And, I get to wake up every day and still make music. It's not like, I gave up that much. It's maybe on paper, it seems like that. And, I'm super happy for those guys and like what they're doing with their career, continuing on. And, I think I think it's like, hey, I'm doing what I love, and like, everything's going well. Like, you guys are still like killing it. Like, it's all like good. At first it was a little weird, but now it's very like, it's all good. We're cool.
Now back to Joyce, because he did the first 3 records when you were there as well. So what was it about Joyce that inspired you to kind of like pursue that? And then what was that like when you guys were creating those 3 records? Like what were you doing when Joyce was like getting work done? Like, were you basically just like shadowing him throughout the whole time?
Jay is kind of a secretive person in the sense of like, you'd ask him, be like, oh, how'd you do that? He'd be like, don't worry about it. Like, but so you just learn to kind of just watch silently, you know, and like just keep an eye out. But I think what I learned the most from Jay, production wise, not so much anything specific from a technical aspect, but like how a song should build, or like, you know, the progression of a song, like not necessarily the chords, but like the dynamics, and like, you know, less is more, you know, and it's okay to like, not everybody has to play at once, and even if it's a band, you know, it's like you're not getting paid for the note, you know. So yeah, I think he just more of like an overall like broader picture of like how music should come across, and like conveying an emotion even if it's not perfect. I think that was another big thing I learned from Jay, is like Jay wasn't always about perfection. It was like if the energy was right and the emotion was there, he would pick that take over way more than the perfect. Like,
you can't redo the emotion.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like, I mean, even historically, if you listen to like all those old, like, you know, Muscle Shoals records and Aretha Franklin and all that stuff, it's like there's times where like she was like maybe a little off pitch or like whatever, but it's fucking amazing, you know, because like it's just like, you know, it's the feel was there, and like you could hear whatever it was, pain or love, or you can hear that in her voice, you know. So like, I think that touches more people than, you know, being perfect, you know. I mean, I think that's why Nirvana was so big, you know. Like, they were a loose kind of sloppy band, you know, but like they connected with, you know, middle America, and not even just middle America, but like what everybody was thinking or going through, and you know what I mean. And that's, I don't know, I think that's what people gravitate towards. It's like it feels real, you know. And I think that's what people want in music, and which is funny, you know, because I'm doing pop music now and it's super polished, and you know. But on that tip, it's more of a challenge for me. It's like, you know, just see if I can do it, you know, like. I don't know. I feel like I just went on a tangent. So.
Well, no, like, you know, what was that transition like for you? Like co-writing with a rock band, and then, you know, co-writing with other artists, and then now, you know, writing your own material. Like, did you feel like that transition was just like smooth throughout, or did you kind of like have to relearn every time you changed it up?
It was natural, and I wouldn't say I had to relearn. I mean, to some extent, I think you kind of just do what you do, and you know, hope that it works out. And you don't always connect with everybody either, you know. I think it took me a while to like accept that, like, not every person I meet to co-write with, we're gonna either vibe. We might, you know what I mean, and like that's fine. Like, that's just like not natural, really, if you like vibed with everybody. But it's like you learn things, and it's different, you know. It's like writing with the band. We would spend months writing some songs. Like, it'd be like, oh, we'd come up with a riff and like maybe a little verse melody or something. We'd be like, okay, that's the verse. Yeah. And then it'd be like, we might be hanging out at a house party like 2 months later, and somebody would play something else and be like, oh, dude, that's the chorus. And like we'd put them together, and like that's kind of how a lot of that stuff was written. Yeah. You know, so then whenever I started doing more co-writes, where it's like, oh, you show up at 11 a.m., it's like, we're going to write a song. You know, that definitely felt really weird at first.
I feel like that would be weird.
And sometimes it still is, like, not going to lie. And I try to do more, like, I think the earliest I'll do is, like, noon. Yeah. You know, but, and I don't know, you know, everybody's got their own approach and, like, how they do things. But I still go into the same attitude as I did with the band, in a way. I'm like, hey, like, if we don't finish something today, like, I really don't care. Like, I'm not sweating it. Like, but if we like kind of get started on something that we think is really cool, and that like maybe we can't like totally crack the code on it today, like let's get another day and like, you know, get back in on it. And you know, there's been, you know, several songs I've written where it's taken 2 or 3 days, but the end result was always greater than just trying to like plow through it and like, you know, just get it done in, you know, the day. And I also think that's such a Nashville like ideology of like, it's like, oh, we've got to write the song, have the demo done and a mix by like the next morning, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, I could do that, but like it doesn't mean it's gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and it's just gonna just be more mediocre. I don't think we need any more mediocre.
Right. Well, now that you have your second single out, like, what else can fans expect from you? What do you have, like, you know, for the rest of this year or for 2019?
I've got one more single coming out, I think end of November, like, I forget the date, maybe around the 30th. Like sometime after Thanksgiving, like right at the end of November. I got another one featuring a guy named Kevin Kelly. Okay. And it's a different vibe even than Release. It's just more down tempo, and so, and that's also been what I've been challenging myself to do, is like make sure every track is like way different than the next, you know. Yeah. So I've got that one coming out, and I think that's gonna get us through like the end of the year, and then hopefully have another one coming out like before like South by time, like maybe like into February or something. And I've got like a pile of like 6 or 7 that are maybes, you know, right now, that like I need to figure out if I'm gonna mess with the tracks more or just keep. I'm also still writing currently for it. So between now and, you know, say beginning of January, I'm just gonna
focus on that.
Yeah, be like between. I've got some other like production like things that are for other people that I'm doing that, but it's like if I'm not doing that, then I'm working on that. Yeah, so just trying to do more of it, and you know, I don't have a huge expectation, like, you know, for the thing, but it's just cool to put out music and also let people know it's like, hey, I'm still here, right. You know, and like, and initially it was kind of like, you know, obviously known for being in a rock band and a guitar guy, if you want to call it that. Which, you know, is always like, I will always go back to that. Like, that's home base, right. You know what I mean? But like, I also love pop music and, you know, fucking Michael Jackson and Halsey and like all this stuff. And it's like, so I almost wanted to it was like a way of me showing people like, hey, I can do this too, or I like this. Like, you know, I'm not just a one-trick pony, I guess.
Right. You gotta hit all genres.
Yeah, I like it all, man. I mean, there's even some country stuff that I like. You know, like not a lot of it, but like,
but there's something.
There's something out there for everybody, if you know what I'm saying.